Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna Adi. Hare Krishna Isham. So good to have you. Now, if you remember, let me just go full screen. I hope we are full screen now. Let me just check. Guy, Adi, you're enjoying. Let me just. Hare Krishna. Right. So I hope everyone enjoying summer. I guess this is the tail end, the last bit of the summer before winter is going to start. But let's enjoy while it lasts. That doesn't mean that we don't enjoy summer or we don't enjoy winter either. Let's do the Mangala Charan and we shall start a new session, new series today. Because we have successfully completed the last one, Discover Yourself. Let's start with Mangala Charan. Hare Krishna. All right, let's go for it. Ajnanaatimirandasya Jnanajanashalakaya Chakshurmunmilitam yena Tasmai Shri Guruvai Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Thapitam yena bhutale Swayam Rupa Karamayam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Gurum Shri Yudapadakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatha Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadhvetam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakha Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchan Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschat Deshitarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Prabhupada ki jai, Gurudev Maharaj ki jai, Vrind ki jai, Jai Jai Shri Radhesha. Hare Krishna. Welcome everyone. So good to have you. And from next week, we are going to start Bhagavad-Gītā. Remember, we did start Bhagavad-Gītā and then we reached until chapter 5. And chapter 6 is yoga. And we also said that we have, anybody knows how many chapters we have in Bhagavad-Gītā? Aaron is here with me, so today we are going to do a lot of conversation. Aaron, do you remember how many Bhagavad-Gītā chapters are there?
18.
18. Anybody would like to say whether he is right or wrong? Anybody thinks they are less than 18 or more than 18? Okay, yes, that's correct. 18. There are 18 chapters in Bhagavad-Gītā. How many shlokas we have in Bhagavad-Gītā? Aaron, do you know?
Yes, 700 verses.
700 verses. That's right. There are 700 verses in Bhagavad-Gītā. And how many different sections those 18 chapters could be divided into?
3.
3.
Beginning, middle, end.
Okay, that's right. Beginning, middle, and end. Wow. But thinking about it, we could divide any book or any scripture into those 3 categories: beginning, middle, and end. Do we have names for those beginning, middle, and end?
I'm not sure. I don't know what the words are.
Okay. So for Adi, Ishan, Shivani, and whom we got today? Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Pavaki.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So good to have you. You have joined us a very good time. How are you doing? Are you keeping well?
Yes.
Oh, you are looking like a princess. You know why you are looking like a princess? Because you are a princess. Yes. I also got a princess hair. Doesn't really matter what she wears, she always looks like a princess. Right. So, just to recap, we have completed the previous series of Discover Yourself. And now we are going to start Bhagavad-Gītā. Now, the way we did last time, we will try to get a bit more in detail and we will do a lot of conversation, which means you guys need to reply back. Of course, if you are doing something, then feel free to just listen in, right? Because it's the very first thing we need to do is listening, right? Even if you can't reply back for some reason, maybe you are doing drawing, maybe you're doing your homework, maybe you're doing ironing, maybe you're getting ready for your next day, maybe you are having your lunch or dinner at this time of the day, because tomorrow morning is a school, right? So what we said so far, that we are just revising before we officially start chapter 1 of Bhagavad-Gītā. What we said, okay, let's resume back that what we are going to do here, what Bhagavad-Gītā is, right? And then we will start Bhagavad-Gītā. Now, what did we say? We said that Bhagavad-Gītā has 18 chapters, right? So Aryan is here with me. Anyone else would like to reply back, feel free. Otherwise, I'm having conversation with Aryan. Aryan, so do you know the name of the scripture from where Bhagavad-Gītā has been taken out?
Is it Srimad Bhagavatam?
Okay. So Aryan says Bhagavad-Gītā, or Aryan thinks Bhagavad-Gītā is part of Srimad Bhagavatam. Anybody knows if he's correct or if he's wrong? Shivani, just because your camera is on, what do you think?
I don't think so, because I think that Bhagavad-Gītā and Srimad Bhagavatam are different books, but they're just related in like a little bit, I think.
Very nice. Very nice. That's right. So that's so true that Bhagavad-Gītā is actually not part of Bhagavatam. But then what's the name of the scripture of which Bhagavad-Gītā is part of? Because what we could do, we could go into detail what Bhagavad-Gītā is. But if we take a step back, we do need to understand that why do we do Bhagavad-Gītā? Why it's so important, right? And what is Bhagavad-Gītā? Right? Bhagavad-Gītā is actually part of what we call a Mahakavya. Anyone knows what Maha is? Maha. Maha is, yeah,
Big.
Big. So Aryan says Maha is big. So has anyone heard of Mahabharata? Okay, Aryan hasn't heard it. When I was growing up in India, then there used to be a serial.
Oh, wait. Oh,
Serial,
no,
not the one we eat, but the one we watch. And that's Mahabharata. Now Aryan kind of remembers. Yeah. Okay, so Aryan says Bhagavad-Gītā is not part of Srimad Bhagavatam because Srimad Bhagavatam is Bhagavad Puran and it's one of those 18 Puranas we have. But we have two Mahakavyas. Kavyas is a literary, we could say the poem, otherwise one of the biggest or greatest work done. And that's what we usually say Kavya. There are many different meanings, but for our simplicity, and Maha is massive, big. So Mahabharata is one of those. And then we have another one is Ramayana. So Ramayana is one and Mahabharata is one. Now Mahabharata is where there are two cousin brothers and they are fighting. Anyone knows the name of those cousin brothers?
Gaurav and Pandava.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Ishan. Yes. Gaurav and Pandavas. Now, anyone remembers why are they fighting?
For rule of the kingdom.
For rule of a kingdom. Great. Shivani, you raise your hand. Do you want to say something?
I think they were particularly I think that the Kauravas were actually started the fight. Like they started the fight that they said that they would go for exile for 14 years, and of the 14th year they had to come to sky. So I think it's because the Kauravas wanted to take land.
Mm-hmm.
And they wanted to be in charge of a lot of things that the Pandavas had.
Very nice. Yes. And this is what Ishan said as well, that they wanted to rule. They wanted to win over the kingdom. But really, was that true? That Pandavas, they said that we want to rule. And that's the reason we want to have a fight, a battle. If you think about it. Because if both of them were greedy, Kaurav and Pandavas, then how do we know which one we will support? Yeah? Which one we could support?
Oh, I'm really not sure about this one.
You're not really sure.
No.
Okay. Aryan, I think it's this is you which is coming in the camera. All right. Okay. Yes. Oh, we got Pawaki who raised the hand. Yes, please, Pawaki. Go for it, please.
I think they're fighting because only one person can rule the kingdom. So they're fighting who should do it.
Very nice. But then whom will you support? They're two cousin brothers, they're fighting, and you're right, only one of them, because they both are different. However, if two brothers or two sisters or brother-sisters, they could always rule together. Yeah. But because they both are very different, so in that case, we can only support one. How do we know which one we will support? Which one will you support? Kaurav or Pandavas? Let's think about it. No? Okay. Now, how do we figure out? Let's say there are two friends of yours and they are fighting on something and you could only support one of those friends. How will you make your mind up which friend to support? Then you need to know what are they fighting for. You need to know, you need to understand why are they fighting, right? What are their grounds? Maybe both of them saying that this pencil is mine, both of them. Now there must be one who would be the true right owner of that pencil. And then you will say, okay, I'm with you because this pencil really belongs to you. And the way Ishan said it, first of all, Adi said it, but Adi sent the message to me. So thank you so much, Pavaki. That was Very nicely said. Right? But let's get a step further. So Adi sent me the message. I heard it's in Mahabharata. That's right. So Bhagavad-Gītā is part of Mahabharata. And then Ishan said, because Krishna's side, because Krishna is on Pandav's side, that's the reason Pandavas should win. Yeah. So where Pavaki said that only one should win, now Ishan is making clear that I think Ishan is also saying that of course Pandavas should win because Krishna is there. But now I need to ask, Pandavas should win because Krishna is on Pandav's side? Or should we think that why Krishna is on Pandav's side? Yeah, think about it. Pandavas should win because Krishna is on their side, or should we think that why Krishna is on Pandav's side? Why Krishna was there on Pandav's side? Why Krishna didn't support Duryodhan on Kaurav's side? What do you think, Adi? Do you know Duryodhan? Okay, Adi says why. So I think Adi is wondering. Adi is thinking, why? Why nobody told me? Right? Adi, you're going to find out today. Aaron, you would like to give any guess? Why Krishna was with Pandavas, not with Kauravas?
Because when Arjun and Duryodhana, when they asked Krishna to be on their side before the war, Arjun chose Krishna, and Krishna gave his army to Duryodhana. So that's how Krishna came on Arjun's side in one reason.
Okay, all right. So Aryan, with his explanation, Aryan is giving one of the incident. Now, who remembers this incident? Adi and Pavaki, I can see your cameras. So if in case you know, let me know. I will, oh, Shivani has switched on her camera as well, which is great. But do you know, any one of you remember that there was a time when the war was announced, that definitely there's going to be a big battle, massive, between two cousins, Kaurav and Pandav, right? And now all over the world, different kings, they are making decisions whether they are going to be with Kauravas or whether they will be with Pandavas, right? Because they cannot fight with each other. There were three people who did not fight with anyone. They said, we are not going to support anyone. Who those three were, we will discuss later. But rest of the kings in the world, they decided that with whom they want to go. But Krishna was open. Krishna said, well, I don't know with whom I should go. And then Krishna said, what I will do, that I have myself on one side, and then I have my army on one side. So, because both were cousins, and they both were cousins of Krishna as well. So Krishna said, you both are my cousins, and I'm impartial. So whoever will come, what I can do, obviously I cannot divide myself, but I can divide me and my army. So one of you take me, and the other person take the whole army. Anyone remembers how this was done, how this split happened? Right, okay. Listen to this now. This is Arun, do you remember? Okay. So Arun has given the gist of it, which is there was a time when Krishna was sleeping. And then Duryodhan comes around. And Duryodhan just sat down on one side because Krishna was sleeping. So Duryodhan came to ask for his army. Right? Duryodhan thought, what am I going to do with one person? Krishna himself. His army is big. His army is massive. Let's take his army. So he said, he just went there. Krishna was sleeping. He just sat down next to him. Right? And just then Arjun came. And Arjun also thought, okay, Krishna is there and Krishna is sleeping. Duryodhana is sitting down as well. So Arjun also sat down. But what Arjun didn't do, or what Arjun did do differently, that Arjun didn't sit next to Krishna. Arjun sat down right the front of Krishna where Krishna's feet were facing. Right? So imagine if you are sleeping, laying down on the bed, then on the left hand side, on the right hand side, you have chairs, and then in the direction where your feet are pointing, there is a chair there as well. So Arjun sat down there while Duryodhana sat down on the left. And in a bit, so they're patiently waiting. And then in a bit, Krishna woke up. Now, the way usually it happens when we wake up, we usually see the person who is right in front of us. Right? When we wake up straight. But that's how Krishna did anyways. Because some of you might say, no, 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 no. When I wake up, I always turn left. Or I always turn right. But well, when Krishna woke up straight. And then Krishna said, Arjun, how are you doing? Arjun said, I'm well. How are you? He said, I'm great. And they just started conversation. And then Duryodhana said, I'm also here. Excuse me. Don't you guys miss me? And then Krishna said, oh, Duryodhana, how are you doing? Duryodhana said, I'm well. Thank you so very much. I'm here to ask you, because you decided you're going to be on one side and your army will be one side. I'm here to request you one of these two. And what happened? What happened there? Krishna said, well, tell you what, I saw Arjun first. How about if I listen to him first? But Duryodhana said, I came first. I came down first. He came after me. So you should listen to me first. Because Duryodhana was afraid that Arjun is going to ask Krishna's army. But Krishna said, well, yeah, but think about it. He's younger than you. I saw him first. So actually it's his right to ask first. Duryodhana said, no. Krishna said, yes. And then what happened? Krishna asked Arjun, Arjun, what have you decided? Are you here to ask me, or are you here to ask my army? And Arjun folded his hands and he said, we would like to have you. And he said, wow. Are you sure? You just want me? Just to make it clear. If I'm coming, all my army going to Duryodhana. And Duryodhana was so happy. Duryodhana thought, Arjun, he might be a great archer, but he doesn't have any sense of warship. And then Arjun said, I'm very well happy. I just want you to be on my side. And then Krishna turned towards Duryodhana. And Duryodhana said, oh Krishna, what shall I do? Because Arjun is younger, he has already asked you. So it's okay. I will take all your army. That's okay, no problem. Like he's doing a favor to Arjun. But not really. He was very happy because that's why he came to ask for. And that's how Krishna went to Arjun. And then Krishna's army went to Duryodhana. Right? And now coming back to the question, that Adi also said it, and Ishan said it very nicely, that because Krishna was on Pandav's side, so we definitely go with Pandavas, because Pandavas were nice. They were cool guys. Yeah. But there was one more thing they had. One more thing they had, because of which Krishna decided to be with Pandavas. And there's a word in English, we say it, righteousness. Have you heard of that word? Righteousness? Yeah? Would you like to describe, any one of you? Yeah, Shivani, go on, please.
Righteousness, I think it means like fair. you could say.
Fair. Okay, that's nice. Yes. Yes, you could say the. So, okay, Adi also gave some explanation, which is a bit off the mark, but that's okay. Adi does that. Now, righteousness means that we will see Bhagavad-Gītā. The reason we're discussing it, and Hare Krishna Tanmay, you have joined. We have finished the previous series of Discover Yourselves, the journey of self-discovery. We are going to restart Bhagavad-Gītā now. So we are just going a recap of Bhagavad-Gītā.
Okay.
Hare Krishna. So maybe from next session we will start it, but today we are doing the recap. And one of the questions we just discussed, or we are still discussing, that from two cousins were fighting, Kaurav and Pandavas. Now, whom we know who is going to win, whom we would like to win, who are the good ones, and then Adi said it, Vaishan said it first as well, that because Krishna is on Pandav's side, Pandavas should win. But we thought, okay, let's take a step further and ask ourselves why Krishna was at Pandav's side. And you know why that is important to know? Because we would like Krishna to be on our side as well. Yeah, we want Krishna to be on our side. And if we understand that why Pandavas, what Pandavas had, and because of those qualities, Krishna was there with them. If we develop those qualities in us, then Krishna will be with us also. And that's the reason we are discussing this. Right? Anybody remembers the 5 names of Pandavas? Okay. Yeah, Shivani, just take one name, maybe, please.
Arjun.
Arjun. Okay, thank you. Pavaki, yes, please. Okay, Pavaki, you are on mute, but I can guess what you said. Okay, Pavaki is going to unmute herself, and Ishan has given 2 names.
Muted myself.
Sorry, Pavaki, say that again, please.
Krishna. I said the name was Krishna.
You said the name of Krishna. Hare Krishna. Well, Krishna was not one of the Pandavas. Pandavas were 5 brothers. Krishna was the cousin brother of Pandavas. But there were 5 brothers. And their father's name was Pandu. And because of the father's name, they all 5 brothers were called Pandavas. But they had their own name. Like Shivani said Arjun. And then Ishan has said 3 names. I think Ishan is still thinking of one more. Adi, do you remember the name of any Pandavas? Adi is thinking. Adi is thinking. Okay. Yes, Aryan would like to say.
Yudhishthir.
Okay, so Yudhishthir, yes. Thank you, Ishan. You got all 5 now. Yes, Shivani, you would like to say? Who is after?
I was about to say Sadev.
Okay, right, great. So, Pavaki, Adi, Shivani, Aryan, Ishan, Tanmay, everyone. If you think about, the very first one was Yudhishthir. And then the second one was Bhima. Adi, Krishna and Balram, they were brothers, but they were the cousin brothers of Pandavas. But then we had the Yudhishthir, who was the eldest one. Then we had the Bhima. Then we had Arjun. And then we had the twins, Nakul and Sahadev. Right? So these were the 5 brothers. Again, the eldest one, Yudhishthir, then Bhima, then Arjun, then the twins, the youngest ones, Nakul and Sahadev. Now, Bhagavad-Gītā, which we are going to discuss now, is a conversation between Krishna and Arjun. And it's so important that this conversation, if we understand the kind of conversation they had, Arjun is going to ask a lot of questions. And these questions we ask ourselves. These questions we ask from each other. These questions brothers ask sisters. Kids ask their parents. Friends ask each other. How? When two friends are there in the university or in the college, primary or secondary, they need to make decisions. And they ask each other, what do you think? Should I do this or should I do that? And then if you think about it, the similar question Arjun had asked Krishna. And then Krishna explained. So Bhagavad-Gītā is not going to give all the answers, in a sense that Bhagavad-Gītā is not going to say that if you will reach to that junction, take left. But Bhagavad-Gītā is going to give us the wisdom that if you will reach to that junction, that how we should decide which direction we should go, left or right. And that's why Bhagavad-Gītā is so important. Right. Now, before we go any further, the very first thing we also said about Bhagavatam. Anyone knows what's the difference between Bhagavad-Gītā and Bhagavatam? Okay. So what we said, that Bhagavad-Gītā is a conversation. First of all, Bhagavad-Gītā is part of Mahakavya, which is Mahabharata, right? The very first thing. After that, Bhagavad-Gītā is a conversation between Arjun and Krishna. Only two people. Only two people. Well, in between, we might hear Dhritarashtra and Sanjay, because they are sitting very far away, and Sanjay could also listen and see what's happening in the battlefield. So that's why in Bhagavad-Gītā, we sometimes hear Dhritarashtra and Sanjay. But if we take those two away, because they are secondary, the primary, the main conversation is happening between Arjun and Krishna. Arjun is going to ask questions and Krishna is going to give the answers. And this is what our religion is. Vedic religion, Vedic wisdom. And what that is, that we ask questions. And we could ask any questions. Now, how we should ask question is the thing. How we should ask question. It says we should ask question in a very submissive way. Like if we are there in the class, if we want to ask a question from our teachers, of course, we should not say that I think you are wrong. I think you're wrong. You are so silly. You don't know anything. It's not going to be sunny today. It's going to be rainy because the weatherman said it, BBC website said it, and so on. Right? The way we ask questions, we say, this is how Arjun asks questions. When we will see in the beginning of chapter 4, Arjun is going to say that Krishna, I know you said this, but I don't understand it. I don't understand this. Or maybe you said that, but that happened. So how come this could be possible? Which means you're not saying that you are wrong. What you are saying is, what you are saying, I can't understand. Can you help me? Right? This is a way we, in the Vedic culture, whether we take the Vedas, we take Upanishads, we take Puranas, we take Mahakavyas, any of the scriptures we take, more or less, it's a conversation. Somebody asks questions and rest of the other sages, they reply back. They give the answers and the wisdom is in the answers. Right. So you might have remembered, we did 24 lessons. There was a presentation we did. I think Arvind put it together. I don't know if somebody else also. I think Kana was there. He also put together a presentation. In Bhagavatam. All right, so before we go there, what is Bhagavatam? Now, Bhagavatam is Bhagavad Puran. There are 18 major Bhagavad. There are many Puranas, more than 18, but there are major 18 Puranas. And out of them, the topmost, the essence of everything is Bhagavad Puran. Bhagavatam. And that's also a story. Now, who remembers Arjun's son's name? Arjun had a son. Well, Arjun had many sons, but there was one
I
son.
know what it is.
You do? What's his name? Or what was it?
Subhadra.
Sorry, Adi?
Subhadra.
Subhadra. Subhadra was. Oh, right. Okay. You mentioned. You mentioned Arjun's wife. Arjun's son. And I'm sure when I will take his name, many of you would have heard that. He was around 18 years old. I think he was actually 16 or 17. And he died in the battlefield. Anyone remember? He was very, very, very famous. There is one more thing in Mahabharata, which says the name is Chakravyuh. Have you heard of that? Okay. Let me give you the name. Okay, Shivani, go hands up. Yes, please, Shivani.
I think it starts like, is it the one which got stabbed by the back with the knife?
That's right. He was. What's his name?
Oh, I can't remember. Does it start with an S?
It starts from A. If I say Abhi, does that?
Abhimanyu.
Abhimanyu. Yes. So you might have heard the name of Abhimanyu. If not, ask your parents. They should know Abhimanyu. If no, then maybe next time we will hear a lot more stories about Abhimanyu. But in very brief, Abhimanyu was the son of Arjun. And Arjun was one of the best archers. He used to have the bow and arrow. And his son was as good as him, Abhimanyu. Just at the age of 16, he was so great. And he also had a son. Anyone knows the name of his son? Maybe not. Okay, Adi gave a great name. Adi said Pradyum. Pradyum was the name of out of many sons of Krishna. Pradyum was one. Pradyum was Krishna's son. Arjun's son was Abhimanyu, and Abhimanyu's son was Parikshit. When the whole Mahabharata got over at the end, apart from 5 Pandavas, everyone died. Right.
Wait, Uncle, Prabhuji,
Yes, please, Ishan.
did Krishna have a son?
Krishna had many sons.
Oh, okay.
Would you like to guess how many wives Krishna had?
50.
Give another guess.
I know.
60,000.
Nearly there. Yes.
I think I know.
Adi, okay, go for it.
100.
100. No, we are talking about Krishna. Well, Krishna had 16,000, 16,108 wives. And out of them, 8 were main. 8 were main wives. 16,000 wives he got. I think 16,100 wives he got in one go. Now, how come that's possible? So the way it is that Krishna had so many wives, and from each wife he had many sons. Somewhere it mentions that from each wife he got, somewhere it says 10, somewhere it says 100. But even if we will say 10 sons, we can imagine. Before we'll get into it, 100,000. And if we take the number of 100 from each, which is not unusual, because Kauravas were 100, and that time they used to be. But there is another pastime of Krishna, and if very briefly I mentioned that there was a demon, well, a kind of demon. He was Narkasur. His name was Narkasur. He had many names, but Narkasur was one of those famous because it says Narkasur. So we could understand it. He was an asur. Okay. So what he said, so what Narkasur did, he wanted to do a great, in past times, they used to do Havan. And at the time of, like, when we do Havan, if we buy house, we do the Havan, we put the fire together and we give offerings in the fire, right? In olden days, people used to give the offering of the living beings. Like you might have a deer, you might have a chicken, and some people, they used to do human beings. So because he was a asura, he captured many kings, thousands of kings, and all the daughters of those kings he captured. So he said, all you kings, I'm going to kill you all together, and I will put you as the offering in the fire on no moon night. So he's waiting for an auspicious day, what he thought was auspicious. And he said, after that, I will become a super king, I will get superpower. After that, all your daughters whom I have captured separately, I'm going to marry all of them. So he had two big cells, right? On one side, all the kings were there, other side, all the daughters were there, and they all were princes. And then these kings, they used to write letters to, or used to send the messages. Oh, ask that neighboring king to kill this Narkasur. And before they found out, Narkasur used to capture that king also. So the number of kings were going out. And then they wrote the letter, or they sent the message to Krishna. And then Krishna replied back, okay, it's the time for Narkasur to die. I'm going to come. And then he came, he killed Narkasur. He killed Narkasur, he released. So Krishna released all the kings and said, those days what used to happen, if you have killed someone, then everything and everybody who is under the supervision of this king whom you have killed, those will be your servants. So because they were captured by you, now Krishna killed, so they all are going to serve Krishna. But Krishna said, I'm happy, I'm content, I don't need to worry about anything. You guys go. You asked for my help, I came, I released you, you go. They all went back to their kingdom. But when they said to their daughters, you come, they didn't come. Why? There are two reasons. First, the daughters, the princes, they said that when Narkasur came, you, our fathers, our brothers, you could not save us. You could not save us, and Narkasur captured. We don't have trust on you anymore. If we will go with you, some other Narkasur might come. You cannot take care of us. And then the second thing they said, because Krishna came here to save us, we are going to get married to Krishna. And how many princes were there? 16,100. So Krishna said, are you sure? Because 16,100, what do you think, how I'm going to meet up with you? And they said, we know very well you can. And then Krishna said, okay, if that's what you want, no worries. No worries at all. Now, so that's how Krishna got 16,100 in one go. And the total number was 16,108. And those 8 were the main ones. And they all 8 came like this. Krishna did not go to any of them to say that, marry to me. All of them came to Krishna to say that, please marry us. Rukmani ji, she's the eternal consort. She was the one. She's the incarnation of Lakshmi. So she was the one who also sent the message to Krishna that my brother is getting me married somewhere else. I don't want to go and marry to that person. Please come and save me. So Krishna went back. Krishna saved her. And then she said, okay, I would like to get married to you. And then similarly, Krishna had a fight with someone, and that Jamwant, we might remember, bear at the time of Lord Rama. So that was one. If you remember, Lord Rama had an army of monkeys and a black bear. I think there was only one bear, right? And his name was Jamwant. And he had a daughter. He fought with Krishna, and then he could not beat Krishna. And then he said, I can't understand. I have never been turned down by anyone, but I cannot win over you. Who are you? And then later on, Krishna said, I am Lord Rama. And then Krishna showed his Lord Rama's Swarup. And then he said, oh, thank you so much. Please, yeah, take my daughter with you. And that was Jamvanti. And yes, Pavaki, we got virtual hand up. Yes, please. Pavaki, you have to put yourself unmuted, please. I can try to read your lips, but I'm not very great at it. I try sometimes with Shivani. Yes, please, Pavaki.
So, I remember there's an army of monkeys, but I never heard a black bear.
Yes, there was a black bear. His name was...
I don't remember. I haven't heard a story with a black bear with both. I haven't heard a story about Rama and the monkey army, but not black bear.
Okay. Well, this time, I will suggest you ask. You ask your mom. I know your mom knows many stories, and I'm sure your mom would know.
My dad knows lots of Hindi stories. I think you're incorrect. My dad is.
Okay. Or your dad might know even more stories. So that's good. In the chat, I've just given a name, and that name we can search. I'm going to give a very quick one-liner from the Wikipedia, which is the very first alphabet is missing, I. In Hinduism, so he was very, he was a royal king actually, because even in monkeys they used to be kings, even in bears they used to be kings. And those days, those were not ordinary monkeys or ordinary bears like what we see these days. They were very much like human beings. So yes, but yes, if you suggest that your dad knows a lot of story, ask him whether Lord Ram had when Lord Rama had the army of monkeys, was there any black bear as well? And was his name Jamwant? Now it says Jamwant, but Jamwant. Okay, that's going to. Adi loves sending pictures. Okay, great question. So great question from Pavaki, and before that, great question from Ishan. So, and there are many more. Even more interesting, you might find, Ishan, that when Krishna left this planet soon after Mahabharata. When Mahabharata was done, Krishna says in Bhagavad-Gītā that I come, well, there are many reasons, but two reasons Krishna says I come down on this planet. One, to save my devotees, and the second, to kill the demons. And while saving my devotees, I re-established the religion. And that was the reason Krishna was with Pandavas, because Pandavas were righteous. Because Pandavas, they did not want to win the battle, so they are going to rule. They wanted to win the battle because Duryodhana was doing wrong. Right? A lot of time, even in politics, you would see some people, they will say, hard to find these days, but some people, they don't want to get into politics, but they just end up in politics because they are not happy with other politicians because they are doing the wrong thing. Right? It happens sometimes. So, but even more interesting is when Krishna was going back. So Krishna said, okay, Yudhishthir is the king now. Yudhishthir is going to take good care. I know the world is in good hands. There's no need for me to come here. The Duryodhana and all his army and all of his friends who supported him, they all died. So re-establish the religion, Yudhishthir is going to do. And I've killed the demons or those people with demonic mentality, Duryodhana and his friends. So I can go. My purpose is solved. I'm going back. But then he thought, what's going to happen to my family? Because he had many wives and many sons. And that's amazing what happened to them. Amazing. That Krishna, now again, there is a story. We might not have the time for that story today, but we will cover that story as well. Bhagavatam is full of stories. I will give you a quick taster, maybe. I will give you a quick taster. So Krishna had many sons. One of the name was Pradyum. One of the name was Sambha. Now Sambha was, and they all were very powerful. But Sambha was the one, and Sambha was like teenagers, maybe like you, Ishan. And you know how teenagers are. Very handsome, very smart, very sporty, but also very naughty. So sages were there, Saptarishis. They came to meet Krishna and they were just waiting in the waiting hall, in living room, if you imagine. And these youngsters, Sambha and his friends, they came along. And what they did, they put the pillow on Sambha's tummy and they dressed him like female. And they asked the sages, oh sages, you know everything. Could you please let us know this woman? And he wasn't a woman, or she wasn't a woman, because he was Sambha, a boy. That, oh, whether this boy is going to have whether this lady is going to have a boy or girl. They were teasing sages, but sages knew everything. And sages got angry. And sages cursed. Sages said, this we know is a boy, but just because you have asked what this boy is going to give, this boy is going to give birth to a big iron rod. A big iron rod. And that iron rod is going to kill the whole Yadu dynasty, like the whole family of Krishna. Krishna Balram's great grandfather's name was Yadu. So that's why, like Kauravs, Pandavas, Yadus. So they said all the Yadus going to die because of that iron. And later on, this is what happened. From Sama's tummy, they found iron rod. And then going forward, another story comes along. But because of that iron rod, Krishna's rest of the family dies. And that was Krishna's arrangement. Krishna explains that why before he will go, he would like to end up his family here because they were very powerful and they were getting very naughty as well. Right? But then what happens to Krishna's 16,108 wives? Well, of course, some of them were great, like Rukmaniji. She just went back. But what happened to rest of them? And why he had so many wives? Because when Lord Rama, when Krishna came down as Lord Rama, then kings, he was one of the best king, the ideal father, well, ideal son, ideal husband, ideal friend, ideal brother. And then there were so many women at that time, and they wanted to marry Lord Rama. And Lord Rama said, see, in this birth, this incarnation, I cannot marry you because I've already married Sita. And they said, well, you are a king. You could marry as many wives you want. I said, yeah, that's true. But I have taken the vow that I will only marry one. And I've already married Sita. I'm not going to marry anyone. But next time when I will come, I will marry all of you. That's one part of it. But even going back, that there was a time, all the Apsaras, there were many Apsaras, and they wanted to marry Krishna. And they did a lot of austerity. And then a sage came and said, what do you want? why are you doing so many austerities? And they pleased that sage, they served that sage, said, okay, ask for any boon. And they said, we want Krishna to be our husband. And to fulfill all that, Krishna became all their husbands. And then another part of the story is there. But we shall discuss that. Okay, right. So, any questions on anything what we have discussed today? All right, so a quick recap. What we have done today. So, having successfully completed the previous series, we are going to restart Bhagavad-Gītā. Okay, Power Key, yes, please.
I have to leave now. I've got another class.
Oh, thank you so much for your time, Power Key. I look forward to see you next Sunday at 6 p.m. Okay? Thank you. You take care. Hare Krishna. Bless you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So many blessings for you. Thank you, Power Key. All right, we got a couple of minutes. So just a recap. We discussed that Bhagavad-Gītā is part of Mahakavya, Mahabharata. There are 18 chapters, 700 verses. It's a dialogue between Krishna and Arjuna. Mahabharata is the big battle between two cousins, Kaurav and Pandavas. Pandavas, they were righteous, and that's the reason Krishna was with them. And as you guys said, Ishan said it, that because Krishna was with Pandavas, it was very clear that Pandavas going to win. Right. Then many more. Hanumanji was also there on the flag of Arjun. And there's another story for that. And we can discuss that as well. Right. But going forward, what we will do, we will see. Chapter 1, we have done in brief, in discuss. Maybe we will very quickly, we will do the chapter 1 revision. But chapter 2, we will revise again. Because chapter 2 is the summary of Bhagavad-Gītā. And it's always good to have that. Because rather than resuming back where we had left, let's do the revision again. And this time we will keep it more conversational. Right? And again, we don't really need to rush. But always think about any question you could think of. What else you could do? During your week, you can think of any question of any nature. Any nature. For example, let's say your dad needs to buy a new car. If your dad needs to buy a new car or you need to buy a new dress, think about it, how Bhagavad-Gītā knowledge could help you deciding that. Because what I'm saying is that the wisdom from Bhagavad-Gītā could help you make any decision. Right. So how even day-to-day things we do, how Bhagavad-Gītā knowledge could be useful there. Okay, think about it and we shall discuss it. Next Sunday, 6 p.m. And I'm going to share the advert saying that we are going to restart Bhagavad-Gītā. So feel free to share that with your friends because this is a good time when we restart or we start from the beginning. It's always good to have someone then rather than when we are halfway through. Okay, but anyone is welcome at any time. Hare Krishna. So many blessings for you. Thank you so much for your time today. I look forward to see you next Sunday, 6 p.m. for Bhagavad-Gītā start. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Paraji. Thank you.
Blessings for you, Shah. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gurudev Maharaj ki jai. Jai Jai Shri.